The situation in and around Joshimath at this moment highly precarious. No one quite knows what happens next or when. It could just stay the way things are with these cracks. They can just go on for years without any further development, or these houses could crumble. There could potentially be an earthquake, some kind of an eruption. You've got 600 plus families out literally in the cold. The government wants to demolish the unsafe buildings, locals asking for compensation. What should happen next? Given all the unknowns that are at play, how do you deal with this kind of a situation best? Joining us on this broadcast is Piyush Rautela, Executive Director of the Uttarakhand State Disaster Management Authority. We've got, representing the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, Dr. Devendra Bhasin, spokesperson of the BJP. We've got Manish Khanduri, spokesperson of the Uttarakhand Congress. We've got Naveen Bhatnagar, former DIG of the NDRF, the National Disaster Response Force. So welcome to all our guests. I want to go across to Piyush Rautela first. Given that we don't quite know what happens next and when, and given the fact that the government wants to bring these houses down, locals desperately urging for compensation, what do you think should happen next? You've got 600 plus families that are now away from their homes. There is no immediate solution for them. You could build them new houses. Who will build them? How long will it take? How much will it cost? Who will pay? All those are questions which are currently flowing down the river with no answer.
No, at present, as you said, there is no possibility of any earthquake or any eruption. Houses are certainly getting affected due to ground subsidence, and government is taking all measures for the rehabilitation and welfare of the affected families. We have already identified places, and the reference has been made to Geological Survey of India for ensuring stability of those places which have been affected, which have been selected for rehabilitation. Designs are being prepared for prefabricated houses where the people could be resettled. Together with this, the houses which have become precarious and they pose threat to nearby houses are to be dismantled. They have to be brought down. Negotiations are being undertaken with the people. People are being taken into confidence. After all, government is taking all measures necessary for their welfare, rehabilitation and other kind of things.
No, so about these houses, you know, many who are watching would wonder, can they be fixed right somehow? Can something be done to pepper over these cracks, fill them up, or do you think now structurally they've become unsafe?
Basically, if you think Joshimath is a big town, a portion of Joshimath has been affected recently as the water is, say, some groundwater is getting released and the area upstream of that is getting subsided. Subsidence is being observed in that localized area, and houses in this, many houses in that area have become unfit for human habitation. They have to be brought down. Other houses which are, say, in other areas, they can well be retrofitted. They can be, their strength could be improved. They could be made habitable in due course of time. Central Building Research Institute is undertaking door-to-door survey, assessing the structural stability of the structures and suggesting the government likewise. So whatever the suggestions of the experts are there, that will be acted upon.
So we're now getting reports from different parts of Uttarakhand, not just Joshimath, other places as well, that the same cracks are being seen there. Others say, ये तो हमेशा ही होता है, पहाड़ों में तो crack पड़ता रहता है. Is there something larger at play and the older cracks are just being discovered or rediscovered, or are these cracks actually at this moment developing in other places outside Joshimath?
Now, if you see a larger picture, most habitations in hilly areas, hilly terrain, are over old stabilized landslides, be it Joshimath, be it any other place, the people, all agricultural land in the state or hilly terrain, except for alluvial terraces, all the other terraces are, say, constructed over old landslide material. So people, but traditionally people did not, say, settle down over the area where they did agriculture. They settled down at a higher place over farm ground and carried out agriculture over these stabilized landslides. These landslide zones are not fit for taking that much load, and moreover, at most places, including Joshimath, Nainital or others, except for Nainital, most places don't have, say, proper drainage arrangements for draining out rainwater as also household wastewater. So this water keeps percolating underground, and when it seeps out, it leaches away finer, say, silt, clay is leached out, and voids are created in underground, and the ground starts to subside, which is, say, exhibited in the form of, say, cracks and other fractures, fissures on the ground or on the structures.
The head of the Department of Geology at the Garhwal University, and I want to ask you, Dr. Sundaryal, about what happens next. Now, the land has subsided, by which people understand that it's kind of gone in and therefore there are cracks. Is this the way it stays and now this is the situation you have to deal with, or could something happen geologically in terms of some kind of an eruption? We're told that the aquifer there has burst as well, so there's now water which is no longer in the kind of soil that it earlier was contained in. Does something happen next? Do these cracks stay? Could it get much worse? Is there any timeline that you're looking at? Is it at all possible to know the answers to these questions?
Okay. Actually, first of all, I would like to tell you that we have the crystalline rock in the region of Joshimath, and we don't have aquifer there. But water can enter in a fracture and cracks if the rocks have. And this is, I am not able to understand that how aquifer can puncture without any disturbance. If you are talking about that water which is coming from the Marwari side of the Joshimath, that is a lower portion of the Joshimath. So it may be possible that some spring water went subsurface and then that is eroding the material like that. And some people connecting it that this may be the water which penetrated during that 2021 disaster, and that water penetrated by the tunnel, and now that water is coming out. So this is a big debate, and it would be not, we can not ignore any possibility right now. But we all are aware that this Himalaya is actually very weak geological setup and the geographical setup. And all the townships, small townships in the entire area of the Uttarakhand, I'm talking only about the Uttarakhand right now, we have a small township located on the slopes of the hills, and these slopes contains the loose material, and it has its bearing capacity, and when the bearing
I understand that. My question, Dr. Sundaryal, is this: if indeed some kind of an underground water source has burst, and that is what has caused this soil to become loose, and that's why these houses are developing cracks, and because Joshimath is built on a landslide material, does it stay this way, or geologically do you expect anything else to happen? What I'm asking essentially is, could there be more earthquakes? Could there be a landslide? Does it have nothing to do with the probability of an earthquake? Does it increase the probability potentially of a landslide, for example?
Actually, we cannot predict the earthquake when the earthquake will come.
Okay.
But this yes, please. I'm giving answer of your question. Earthquake is a process which is continuously generating 1 magnitude, 2 magnitude, 2.5 magnitude earthquake, and this process is going on. But we feel earthquake when the magnitude is higher, say 3.5 or 4 or 4.5 or 5, like this. So seismically, this entire area, Joshimath, is sitting on, geologically speaking, on a thrust sheet. It's bounded by two major thrusts. One is called Vakrita and another called Munsiari. In between these two geological weak zones, Joshimath is located. Moreover, you are aware that Joshimath is located on a paleolandslide. And this is now well-known fact, and Ham and Ganser told this in 1939. And the crack develops in the building of the Joshimath is also not new. It was developed during the 1970. And after that, 1976, Misra Commission submitted their report, what to do and what not to do.
Okay, so you're saying it's possible that there are cracks and nothing happens post, so this is just the cracks that stay. Swami Brahmachari Mukundanand is in charge of the Joshimath temple. He is the representative of the Jyotirmath Shankaracharya. Swami Mukundanand, स्वागत है आपका. सबसे पहले ये बताएं कि आपके विचार में जो भाजपा की सरकार है उत्तराखंड की, उसको क्या करना चाहिए? टेंपल की नजर से, वहां पे जो लोग प्रभावित हुए हैं उनकी नजर से, वहां बारिश पड़ रही है, बर्फ पड़ने की आशंका है, इस वक्त सबसे जरूरी आपकी नजर में क्या है?
धन्यवाद आपको, आपने हमको जोड़ा है। इस वक्त जो सबसे आवश्यक चीज है जो हम लोग देख पा रहे हैं यहाँ पे रह करके, कि भगवान ने एक तरह से हमको समय दिया है। उन्होंने जैसे टाइम बॉम्ब फटने के पहले टिक 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 करता है, वो स्थिति पिछले लगभग 12 महीने से पहले शुरुआत हो गई। 3 महीने से लगातार उसकी गति और बढ़ गई, 1 महीने से और बढ़ गई। और ये जो समय है ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण समय है। तत्काल स्थानांतरित करके पुनर्वास यदि नहीं किया गया तो ये बहुत बड़ी त्रासदी आ जाएगी। त्रासदी के मुहाने पे यूं कहें कि बम के ऊपर इस समय जोशीमठ पूरा बसा हुआ है, बैठा हुआ है। तो सरकारें बहुत प्रयास करके लोगों को अपने स्थान से जो पुनर्वास केंद्र उन्होंने बनाए हैं वहां पर फिलहाल लेके जा रही हैं, और उसमें और तेजी गति करने की जरूरत है। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी निश्चित रूप से तेजी कर रहे हैं। आज भी वो आए हैं यहाँ पे, दौरा कर रहे हैं, और करके प्रभावित लोगों को जल्दी से अधिक जो मूल स्थान है, जो प्रभावित घर हैं, उन घरों से पुनर्वास केंद्र पर ले जाया जा रहा है। लेकिन अभी तक की जो स्थिति है, पूरी तरह से सभी लोग नहीं हटाए गए हैं। सभी लोग अभी, कुछ लोग अभी भी अपने अपने मकान में हैं जो जर्जर अवस्था में है।
ओके, डॉक्टर देवेंद्र भसीन, what is the BJP government's larger plan? One is the immediate situation. You've moved people out of homes that seemed unstable. What do you intend to do next? They're asking for one-time compensation, they're asking for new land, they're asking for the government to build new houses. As the Swami says, this is a ticking time bomb.
Our state government, with the active support of central government, is working on war footing. We have twofold targets before us: immediate relief and an action plan for the future. As far as the immediate relief is concerned, we have identified more than 500 shelters for the evacuation of people who are residing in danger zone, and 131 families have been shifted from there. Today, government declared interim relief. This is interim relief, 1.5 lakhs, 50,000 for the cartage of luggage to one place to the other place, and 1 lakh for the building. But it is interim, and on 13th of this month, Chief Minister has called his cabinet meeting just to increase the relief of the people. On the other hand, we have to demolish those houses or those buildings who are dangerous, but after the consent of the owners of the buildings. Because today there was a plan to demolish 2 hotels, but there was some objection regarding some compensation, so we did not move. And other buildings will not be touched before the consent of the people. Our Chief Minister has reached today Joshimath, and he will discuss with the victims, the other stakeholders, and as well as officers. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji is in regular touch, and PMO is monitoring all the activities or work being done in Joshimath.
Okay.
Today our national
So Manish Kanduri, the BJP says this is literally an act of God. The state government not to blame. Everything that can be done is being done to provide succor to the affected families. We have a short-term and long-term plan in place. Do not play politics. Don't try and blame the government. This is an act of God.
Well, I don't know if Dr. Vaseem said all of that, but I'll start with a metaphor. I'll start with an image. I'm in Joshimath at the moment, and when you enter town, the two hotels that I think Dr. Vaseem spoke of, they're there just as you enter the town of Joshimath, and they are literally leaning into each other, right? So it's this grim irony that two parties which don't agree are in one form or the other, because one of the hotels belongs to a Congress supporter and the other hotel belongs to a BJP supporter. So I think it's and if you talk to them, not only have their buildings met, but their opinions are exactly the same. First of all, and this is the view of the people of Joshimath. First of all, I think if you take the speed of response, Swamiji had spoken about the fact that this has not been happening today or yesterday or 10 days ago or even 10 months ago. So this has been building up. So I think where one would like to have seen a better response would have been a faster response, more proactive response over the longer term, or the short, medium term. I'd also like to remind you that we were having a similar conversation with the media in February of, I think, 2021 when a disaster happened in Raze, just 30 or 40 kilometers upstream. And it's that same water which apparently is showing up in Joshimath today. So there has been a lack of proactive planning, one. Secondly, in terms of the shorter term response immediately after, I think we would have expected the Honorable Chief Minister to have been a little more proactive. I believe I saw his helicopters just flying over it today, so I think he's in town. But our opinion is that he should have literally been camped here, because this Joshimath is not only the font of Hindu culture, but it's also a critical highway gateway to 3 or 4 important places, only the Valley of Flowers. It's culturally and historically important. So I think we could have done with a much faster, more proactive speed of response, and I think what it shows is a lack of imagination.
Respond to that charge from the Congress. Lack of imagination, slow response. The state government should have been far more proactive.
In fact, if we go by politics, Congress would be blamed for the entire situation, because the first report which came was in 1976, and at that time Congress was in power. The second report came in 2003, Congress was there. Third report came in 2006, Congress was there, and after Kedarnath disaster, Honorable Supreme Court issued certain direction. Congress was in power, but nowhere Congress took any action, and the result is before us. So politically, we are not interested in politics. Our Chief Minister appealed to all to come and support the issue, because it is a humanitarian issue, it's a very serious issue. But Congress, because it's a divided house, its leaders are fighting amongst themselves. Someone goes in one direction, other goes in different direction.
Respond to that charge that most of these constructions in the past 5 decades have actually happened in the watch of Congress governments. There have been reports while your governments were in place with very specific suggestions on what should be done, none of which was acted on, and therefore don't sermonize the BJP government in Uttarakhand. Hold the mirror to your face.
I think what the good doctor is saying, let's talk of specifics and let's talk of over the longer term, right? First of all, he has very adeptly and very deftly taken away the argument into politics. We are speaking of the speed of the response and help given to people right now. So let's focus there. And if you're not going to focus there, and if he's going to take the argument into politics, obviously, when we raise the voice of people, it's politics. But when they do something, it's, well, statesmanship, I suppose, by Mr. Modi. Now, let's come to his specific incidents. It is the Congress party that actually stopped a large-scale project from happening on the recommendations of somebody in the scientific and academic world in TV. A 600-megawatt project to stop. Has the BJP done anything like that, if you want to talk politics? It was under Dr. Jairam Ramesh, who was the Environment Minister, who, to the best extent possible, has instituted this policy. I do not say, listen, what has happened in Uttarakhand is very long term, and the tragedy is in 1936 they issued a report, in 1976 they issued a report, and Rahul, you may be speaking again in a year or so in the same way, in the same fashion, because the speed of development that has happened is the consequence of unchecked development from all sides. The need of the hour, first of all, is to focus on how do you help the people right now. One, and that is where we say the BJP is lacking. Two, what is your long-term vision and long-term plan? And there are lots of comments and stories there as well. But I don't see a proactive response here, and that's what we're trying to deal with.
Devendra Bhasin, respond to the charge that there is actually more construction and development taking place on your watch. For example, under the Congress regime, a lot of border infrastructure wasn't developed because they thought it's just very difficult to try and build roads in those areas. It's also an ecologically sensitive zone. Your government is actually expediting it, and therefore, forget the sins of the past. On your watch, the sins have been exacerbated.
Precisely. Precisely.
Basically, the illegal construction in Joshimath area was in major part during the Congress period, because before this Uttarakhand came into existence, year 2000, Congress was there or Samajwadi Party was there, Central Congress was there. And after the creation of Uttarakhand, for 10 years, Congress was there. And incidentally and interestingly, 3 reports came during that period when Congress was in power, and 1 report came in when Congress was in power in center. So they did nothing. And even today, what I feel to say, that Congress during their period did not stop a single illegal construction. And even they ignored the directions of the Honorable Supreme Court in the year 2013 very recently. So how can they say that we are responsible? We are working, we are on front foot. But your people, your leaders, including state president and former chief minister, they are playing politics. Simply, they go and submit their submission there. But creatively, they are not supporting any issue which are required in Uttarakhand as on date.
Now, Naveen Bhatnagar, as a disaster response expert, what do you think ought to be done? This politics aside, how, because the challenges are at so many levels. The short-term challenge, dealing with these people, it's raining, it could be snowing soon. The longer-term response, where do you rehabilitate them? Who builds their houses? Who funds it? How much settlement money do they get?
Actually, I have a rich experience about it, and I can assure that it is very difficult to manage the show, because these rocks are sandy rocks, and a lot of this weakness. The rock, there is a big ridge of this mountains belongs to this sandy rocks. So now the cracks are coming up, and these cracks are going up day by day, is making the big issues. So anyhow, but we'll have to see what best we can do. The first action is this, that we should evacuate the people from that particular place, because any of the day, if this earthquake comes, 4 or 3 or 4 or 5 magnitude, so definitely everything will be collapsed, 101% it will collapse.
Because it's weak already.
Already, because the land corrosion is there, and water is coming up from various sides. So it's a natural phenomena. When water used to come, then it means the crack will go deeper and deeper, and a big issue will be there. So it's the best time that people should learn, government should take lesson, whatever the government have the measures to satisfy them, and immediately they should be shifted.
No, but the larger problem here, Dr. Sundaryal, is the fact that virtually all the key cities, not all, but most of the key towns of Uttarakhand are actually built over landslide sites. And therefore,
Yes.
what is happening right now in Joshimath could potentially happen in any of those towns. So, can something be done to deal, let's take for example, Nainital or any place, right? You've got so much building material that's already out there. To try and take those people away, or you can say that on TV, but to do it on the ground is impossible.
Yes. Actually, this is the time when we should think about the way forward. What happened and what is happening, how we can mitigate and how we can manage this crisis. This is the time when our government, our planner, policy maker, they sit together and make such policies that this entire region may sustain in future.
No, but
So,
that's about future
basically,
development. What
actually-
happens to all the development that's already happened, which is out there, virtually, as the Swamiji said, a ticking time bomb?
Yes, yes, yes. I am agreed with the Swamiji that it is ticking time bomb, and as other people who belongs to the political parties, they are telling that it was 1976, and it is fact that government, either it is BJP government or Congress, they are aware that this area is very weak. But Uttarakhand still could not make its building code. And in 2005, we are not even opting the building code of the central government of 2005. So until and unless I'm telling you that we should talk about what should be the way forward. We will have to make our policy, we will have to make our rule and regulation, and beside that, we will have to implement them on ground honestly.
No, but I've heard many experts say put a bar on all future constructions. But Swami Mukundanand, हकीकत ये भी है कि जैसे बाराहोटी है, जोशीमठ से ही आप होके बाराहोटी जाते हैं, चीन के बॉर्डर पर है ये, और सामने पीपल्स लिबरेशन आर्मी ने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का बहुत बड़ा डेवलपमेंट किया हुआ है, और बहुत साल के बाद आखिरकार अब हम उत्तराखंड के बॉर्डर एरियाज में बीआरओ के जरिए वो सड़कें बना रहे हैं जो हमारी सेना को सीधे बॉर्डर तक लेके जाएंगी. अगर सारे कंस्ट्रक्शन, और ये इकोलॉजिकली सेंसिटिव जोन है, लेकिन अगर सारे कंस्ट्रक्शन पे हम पाबंदी लगा देते हैं तो चीन का तो वहां पे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन चुका है और भारत की नेशनल सिक्योरिटी को बहुत बड़ा खतरा भी है ये. आप म्यूट पे शायद सर, आप म्यूट पे हैं.
जी, कंस्ट्रक्शन पे कोई पाबंदी नहीं लगाई गई है, आपकी चिंता जायज है. ऐसा कंस्ट्रक्शन करिए जिससे हिमालय का स्वरूप बना रहे. हिमालय के स्वरूप को बनाते हुए कंस्ट्रक्शन करके आप अपनी सीमाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए जो प्रयास कर सकते हैं वो प्रयास करना चाहिए आपको. आप कांग्रेस पे ब्लेम लगाएं, आप भाजपा पे ब्लेम लगाएं, जैसे कि अभी कर रहे थे, हमने सुना आपस में नेता लोग कर रहे थे कि उस समय इनकी सरकार थी, उस समय उनकी सरकार थी. सरकार किसी की भी रही हो, समस्या भुगतने के लिए तो जोशीमठ का वासी आज उसके सामने समस्या हो रही है. सरकार चाहे किसी की, आप विकास करिए, अच्छा करिए, जो भी करने की कोशिश करते हैं. प्रकृति को समाप्त करके जो विकास प्राप्त करना चाहते हैं आप, एनटीपीसी को ला करके जो बिजली बना करके, पहाड़ के पेट के अंदर छेद करके लंबी लंबी सुरंग बना करके जो विकास आप चाहते हैं, उस विकास के दुष्परिणाम पर भी विचार करने का समय है. ये जोशीमठ तो एक उदाहरण है. इस समय एक जोशीमठ को देख करके हम ये सीख सकते हैं कि हमें विकास चाहिए, बिजली चाहिए, बहुत आवश्यक है हमारे लिए, लेकिन किस कीमत पर हमको ये विकास मिल रहा है ये ध्यान देना होगा. ये विचार करने का समय आ गया है कि हम अपने विकास के मॉडल को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए अपने प्राकृतिक संसाधन को समाप्त करने का प्रयास करना
zones, expanding the roadways, you are virtually asking for trouble. Yes, you must be held accountable because you virtually invited the problems.
जी.
Dr. Basim.
जी. In fact, I would like to share with you that government has stopped all construction works in Joshimath at present. No work is going on, number one. Number two, NDMA has come to Uttarakhand and they had a meeting with our Chief Minister. Now what they have decided to have an action plan keeping in view all the reports already submitted. So before we go through that process, at present government has also ordered that we will also survey the carrying capacity of Joshimath and entire Uttarakhand, because the problem is also due to the overburdening the entire issue, illegal construction or something else, whatever you call it. But this survey would also be very helpful in analyzing the planning part of the entire issue.
So I'm out of time on this broadcast. The challenges are many, the solutions very complex. Can you ask people to stop building more floors or new houses in these ecologically sensitive zones, houses which are being demolished? How much compensation do you give? What happens to the aspect of national security, where you need some of these new roads to take you to the border areas? You also want to build out the whole temple ecosystem, the Char Dham Yatra. We'll track what happens. Man playing with nature, never a wise idea. It's always nature that has the last laugh.